afternoon, good evening, one and all. Thank you so much for joining us in the episode number 25 of BRM Brown Bag session. I'm your host, Suresh GP, and we have today an esteemed guest and a good friend, all the way joining us from Tauranga in New Zealand. Thank you so much, Kirsty, for joining us today for the episode 25 of the BRM Brown Bag. I hope you're doing well and staying safe.
Yes, yeah, lovely to be here, Suresh, and great to be chatting with you again after a few years.
Awesome. So for viewers, Kirsty is currently working as a business relationship manager with New Zealand Police, but she has donned several roles over the period of several years. So let's hear from Kirsty, your experience journey. You started off way back in service management. So how has been your journey so far? We'd be delighted to have your experience jotted down.
Okay, so as Suresh says, I worked in service management for quite some time, sort of fell into that completely by mistake from a career as a journalist. And I'm still some days not really quite sure how that happened, but it seemed to work, and I really have had a pretty successful run in the service management space. Did a few bits and pieces with the IT Service Management Forum and other organisations over the years. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, I decided I really liked the relationship management space. I mean, I like meeting people, I like building relationships, and I can really see the value that relationships have to an organisation. So to take it a step further, I decided to look for a role in business relationship management, and I took up a role at that time with the New Zealand Defence Force, and I worked there for 3 years. And then very recently, I have moved to the business relationship management team at New Zealand Police. So I've only been there less than 2 months, so getting my feet on the ground and working out how this organisation works. But yeah, I'm absolutely committed to relationship management. I do believe it is the power that drives organisations. If you don't have a healthy web of relationships, then you're not going to have a healthy healthy organisation. So I really believe it's the fuel and it's the basis for success in any organisation. So that's why I ended up here eventually. So I was, back in service management days, I was one of the authoring team for ITIL 4. So I've had a pretty busy career in service management, but really enjoying my move into relationship management.
I know Kirsty, I've known Kirsty for about 9 years now, since I was first time I went to New Zealand in Wellington for the ITSM of New Zealand conference. One of the things that I know Kirsty has been very passionate as a people person. She's been always for us in whether it is a podcast, it has been part of the work that we have done together. So for viewers, one of the things that is very distinct on this episode is you have a unique blend of being in service management. You also have exposure towards product management and then BRM. So we will look at this trio of service management, business relationship management, product management. So for viewers, can you give me a simplified definition of what is service management focusing on, what is product management and BRM, so that we can get everybody onto the same page and then deep dive into how this all work together in tandem?
Okay, so I mean, and I'll couch this by saying, this is how I see it. It may not be how everyone else sees it. So for me, your service management it fulfills a whole variety of tasks for the business, but primarily it's keeping the lights on, and it's making sure that the technology works, is reliable, and that it meets the business's needs. So you're looking at your incident management, service request management, you're looking at changes to existing IT systems, and you're looking at managing those existing services. So that's, it's taking your current platform and making sure that that is doing what the business needs. That's a very, very simplistic way of putting it, obviously. Sure. So you're managing existing services. When you're moving into product management, you're creating the products that make up those services within that service management then goes on to support. So you have product management teams that are working in, and I don't want to call them silos because obviously we want to get away from silos, but they are working in specific areas with groups of applications or that make up their product stream, and that provides the capability to the organization. So they're looking at things in, you know, in a funnel that makes up their individual products. So you might have products that deal with mobile applications, you might have products that deal with security applications. So they'll be organized, and different organizations obviously are going to organize those product teams in quite different ways, but they will be focused on specific areas for the organization. And then I think your BRM team is then that, you know, almost the umbrella that goes over the top. We need to work with both. We need to work with service management because our business partners need their current services to work the way they expect them to work, to be available when they need them to be available. And then we need to work with our product teams, because when we want something new, and I mean a new application, a new capability, an enhancement to an existing product, then we need to bring that view into the product team. So one way of looking at it is that, you know, our BRMs are looking at things at a fairly, not, I won't say a superficial level, but at a not a too deep level, but we look across the entire organization. Your product teams are looking at things in great depth, but in a far more focused area. So the BRMs, the product teams are looking at, you know, building their products. And the BRMs are talking to the business and saying, you know, what do you want to do over the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years to improve the way that you provide services? You know, so let's bring those ideas, look at your strategy and say, well, how is technology going to help you with that? And then we take the ideas that need technology through to our product teams. The product teams build them, they hand them over to service management, who support them and make sure that everything is delivered the right way. I hope that made sense.
Absolutely. I think you summarized very well about the transition, like where the service management, product management, BRM works in. So one of the next question is, many times we see BRMs being very tactical because either the service management is not doing well, so they become kind of the single point of contact instead of single point of focus. So what is your thought about when service management is not matured? How does BRM handle that episode?
I mean, it's a difficult one, and I've worked in that sort of situation where service management is struggling to provide the service that the organisation needs, either through immaturity of process, lack of resources, or, I mean, there can be a number of reasons. And BRMs do need to help. I mean, they need to be able to pick up those, I mean, because the way we've got to think about it is we're there to make sure that the service our customers are getting, our business partners are getting, meets their needs. And if service management isn't able to do that, then sometimes the BRM just has to step in and, you know, fix things in the short term. We really want to make sure that we don't carry on in that tactical space for too long. We need to be able to, I think the most important thing for us to do in that situation is work with service management and try and get them to understand what they need to be doing to make sure that they are providing the service that the organisation needs, because we don't want to be the catch-all for incidents that aren't being escalated properly or service requests that aren't being answered. That's not what I took on a BRM role to do. But there are going to be times where you need to fill those gaps. But I think you've just got to temper it with, you know, this is a temporary thing. We need to work with service management to help them improve their capability, to make sure that they understand where they need to be heading, so that we're all working in the same direction. I mean, it's not an easy situation to be in, but for a BRM, our ultimate goal is to make sure that our business partners are satisfied with the service that they get from their ICT investment,
Sure.
that technology is meeting their needs. So,
Right.
as I said, sometimes you just have to step back a little bit and fill that tactical space in the short term, but you need to get yourself a way out of it. Build yourself a roadmap on how you're going to move out of that tactical space. How are you going to help service management improve their processes? I mean,
Sure.
and say again, it's not easy, but if we can
You have to
do it,
start
we
with
should.
that. Absolutely.
Mm.
So one of the things, the next question is around product management. Today, as you know, people are looking at self-organized teams. They are looking at Scrum teams, squads, and tribes and whatnot. So is there a real value, Kirsty, that BRM can operate in a product management world? Because they are very focused on the sprints, the velocity, the user stories.
Yep.
It seemed to be more towards the release train process and scaled agile framework and stuff like that. From your opinion, if the organization is already doing into product management and looking at new releases every 2 to 4 weeks, is there what kind of role do you think the BRM is going to play in a product management world?
Well, we bring that, after talking to our business partners and understanding what their technology needs are going to be, in the short and long term, we bring that view back into our product teams. So, and we help them understand the business priorities. I mean, it's very easy for a product team to look at their own priorities and say, well, if I do A first and B second and C third, that's going to be easier for us. But the business is saying, we actually don't care about A and B to start with. We desperately need you to do C. So that's where the BRM is able to step in and say, look, prioritization for the business means that we need to do this first. That's the imperative for the business. So we bring that business understanding into the product teams. I mean, I think product teams and BRMs, they can, when you look at some of the job descriptions, you think, well, actually the product manager's job description sounds like it's the BRM job description. I mean, we're talking to the customers, we're understanding their strategy, we're building to that. But what we need to understand is that each product manager is looking at that in their pipeline.
Right.
Whereas the BRM is going to look at all the product teams together and understand the business priorities over all those product teams. And I mean, how often does a business idea actually only touch one product team?
Right.
I mean, virtually every initiative of any substance that I see coming from a business partner is going to touch multiple product teams.
Right.
So, and that becomes, the BRM's role to orchestrate the different product teams, product owners, product managers to work together to come up with the holistic solution that the business is looking for, and to prioritize it in a way that meets the business's expectations and needs.
Absolutely. I think that's a very good way to look at the BRM as the umbrella, looking at the orchestrator role, move parts. It's just not one product, but different products, overall holistic part. So that really sums up, there is a merit in having a BRM in a product management world as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. And when you start working with your architecture teams as well, and your product teams and your project managers, bringing all those different parts of the ICT equation together to produce what you want at the end of it. That's that as you say, that orchestration role that the BRM provides is absolutely critical in that.
Awesome. So in terms of the knowledge, so one of the things we see BRMs, Kirsty, is that they don't have sometimes service management knowledge. They don't know about Agile. So when they get to work with the service management teams or the product management team, they kind of seem to be out of place because they don't use the same terminology, the vocabulary part of it. So from your perspective, what kind of skills and knowledge do you think is absolutely required for BRMs to manage this whole expectations with different groups and departments?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the very least, your BRM needs to have, a basic understanding of, whatever framework your service management team is using in the organization you work for, you should get some foundation level training in that, whether that's ITIL or whether it's Verism or whatever it is. There are multiple frameworks out there that different organizations could be using, but just, get yourself onto a workshop, train up at that foundation level. And it's not so that you can do their job. It's so that you are speaking the same language when you're talking with your service management people, that you understand what an incident is, what a service request is, what a change is in their terms, because in other parts of the organisation, those names may mean something completely different. But when you're talking in that service management space, you want to make sure that you're talking the same language. And the same is going to go for your product space. If you're using SAFe, or whatever framework you're using for your product management, again, look to see if you can get on a foundation level training course, or even go as far as taking a Scrum Masters course, so you actually understand how they work, how they bring themselves together, how they prioritize things, so that when you're coming in with something from the business, you actually understand what they're going to do with it when they get it. And again, that you are talking the same language, that you understand what a sprint is, that you understand how they organize their blocks of work, how they do their planning in increments, and what each increment means, how much work is that going to allow you to do, because then you can then take that and explain it to your business partner, just how that prioritization process works in a product world, and and how they can work together as product teams and produce what you want. But if you don't understand how they work, it can be very difficult to understand how you actually get the work your business partners are asking for into the organization. So, understanding both sides of that equation, I think, is really important. But on the other side of the fence, I think we should encourage our product managers at the very least to take a BRM course, just go to a foundations workshop, even just a few hours, to actually understand the value of relationships, because I think that's actually underestimated. I think sometimes your product managers think that, what's a relationship? You just go out and talk to people. They don't actually understand the science behind building and maintaining impactful relationships. So I think it's really important that we get our product teams, at the very least, to have some base level relationship management training, so they do actually understand the work that goes into building and maintaining those relationships, and that they don't actually step in, as I've seen happen before, have a product manager step in and destroy a relationship which has taken you months and months to actually build up to a level where there's trust. If they don't understand that, then that's actually very easy to do. So, so on both sides of the fence, the BRMs should do the service management and the agile training, but especially our product managers should do some relationship management training as well.
Awesome. That's spot on, because in terms of right now, I'm working with one of the client where the technology team is coming and say, we need to know about BRM. So we call this as Elevate IT to get a seat at the table, or building IT as a business. So basically, you're absolutely right that if you don't have relationship-centered organization, if you don't think on those lines, then the chances of you working as a one single unit is going to be very difficult. So it's absolutely imperative that you said that either the course of the BRM fundamentals from the BRM Institute is a great opportunity for people to get everybody to the same page, and that could be a way to run through it. Now, shifting gears, we had this relationship maturity model that we used to look at ourselves and say, my relationship with my business partners. But do you think that the relationship maturity model from ad hoc, order taker, service provider, trust advisor, and strategic partner can be done with other departments? Is that something in place? And what would be your suggestion when it comes to building that relationship with the rest of the business units and departments?
Absolutely, Suresh, and I think that's critical. You can't have a relationship that just goes out from the BRM into the different, the external. I don't want to say the business, because
we are the business.
As far as I'm concerned, I work for New Zealand Police. I don't work for ICT, and there's no the business out there. But you've got to make sure that you're both inward and outward facing, that you put the same value on the relationship you have with your ICT functional partners as you do with your business partners out in the wider organisation. If you put all your effort into building impactful relationships with your business partners, then and you ignore your functional partners, like your product teams, like your architects, like your business analysts, all the people who work behind the scenes in your ICT capability, then you're not going to get the buy-in when you come from your business partner back into ICT and say, hey, my business partner wants us to do this. If you haven't built that relationship with those people within your function, you're not going to get the buy-in that you're looking for. So you've got to make sure that you put the same effort into building those relationships as you do with your business partners, because relationships are with people. So, think of them as individuals, think of them as teams, work with whichever side they're on, whether it's functional or out in the wider part of your organization. You need to build those relationships on both sides. And you use the same skills, exactly the same skills as you do to build relationships with business partners, whether it's, buy them a coffee and go sit at their desk and just have a chat about what they did in the weekend. All those things they're all part of building that healthy relationship, actually taking an interest in the person, not just the position.
Awesome. I like the piece that taking the interest in the person and not based on title, because you're invariably not talking about business to business or business to consumer. Is human to human, right? The hedge to hedge factor.
It is, absolutely. I mean, and that's why I moved into relationship management, because I like that human to human interaction and deriving the value that we can from building those relationships.
Awesome. My final question to you is, this trio of service management, product management, and business relationship management is a pretty lingo, right? I don't know how we can make the balancing act, because if you go one side, the other side goes for a toss. So do you have your recommendations on how to move forward with service management, product management, and business relationship management as a balancing act, so that the whole organization at the end of the day gets the desirable benefits? Any tips and tricks on how we need to go this forward?
I think it's working together as a team. It's looking at yourself as an organization, as an organism almost, not just an organization, as, we're all part of the same capability that's providing, a platform or whatever for the business to actually create value. So we need to make sure that we're instead of being three different parts, instead of being service management, product management, BRM, that we are one organism. We have different skills that go out in different directions, but we need to work together. And one thing I think that, and actually I'll give credit to Jeremy Byrne from the UK for this one. I had a chat with him a couple of years ago, and this was when he was at Loughborough University still, and he said they put together a wider engagement group. So everybody who met with business partners for anything got together on a regular basis, all sat down together and discussed what their interactions with business partners had been, so that we all knew who was talking, who was saying what, and it gives a platform for basically those three parts of the organisation to get together. So your service management people obviously are talking out to your business partners because they need to make sure that their current services are meeting requirements. And obviously your service desk is a key point of contact for your business partners. And then obviously your product managers again are talking to the business to make sure that their product development is meeting requirements, as well as the BRMs who are out there all the time just having those conversations and seeing how we can innovate and provide better value out of ICT investments. So create a workshop, even if it's once a quarter, just all get together in a room over lunch, even put on and food's a great way to get people together. I mean, you want to sit down in a relaxed environment and talk about how you're interacting with the business. And as BRMs, we can give advice on how to help build those relationships. And one of the things we want to stress as BRMs is that we're not there to have every relationship. We're not saying you can't go out and talk to the business because we own that relationship. We're just saying involve us as well when you need to. We're there to support your relationships with the business. We're not there to own everything. We're not there to stop you talking to people. We're there to facilitate those conversations and make sure that all the relationships between our ICT function and the wider business are healthy and productive and meet the requirements that technology has to provide to the business. Make sure that we are providing a positive impact on the organisation. And if we're not working together as a team, then we're not going to do that.
Yeah, absolutely spot on, Kirsty. I've just loved the way that you articulated about making a single team, but also being respectful of the different skills that people bring to the table.
Yes.
We cannot own everything, but we have to be cognizant of the fact that there's a diversity and inclusion that makes it much more powerful as a team.
Yeah.
And then we all have to look at from an end business perspective, how we are going to work as one single cohesive unit to take up the challenges together and make it work. So it's been a great conversation today, Kirsty. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We've got to do this again, Suresh. It's been fun.
Absolutely. We'll do that. And viewers, you would have heard about Kirsty, passionate about talking about the relationship management. She's been a veteran in this space. She's done service management. She's gone into doing a lot of work with business relationship management. She's been a certified business relationship manager, and hope you will stand to gain a lot from her wisdom that she shared today. So we really thank Kirsty for spending time with us. And we hope that you get inspired, like we get inspired by bringing in the real world practitioners, sharing their real world experience at the BRM Brown Bag. And so happy to be here. And we look forward to seeing you all next time in our next episode of BRM Brown Bag. Until then, stay safe and do well. Keep BRMs alive and have the flag flutter very high. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.